Alright, on to more human things. Scientists found a 12,000-year-old monument. Turns out it may be humanity's oldest calendar. Carvings in Turkey appear to mark solar days and years, making it possibly the oldest solar calendar in ancient civilization. Marking a massive comet strike as the start, inhabitants use symbols to record every astronomical event, including those as small as single days. The summer solstice was called out on the monument as a special day. Okay. Alright. In a study published in the Time and Mind, based on the works of researchers from University of Edinburgh, yeah, the poor turkey. Poor turkey got hit by a comet. University of Edinburgh, experts write that the markings that... I am so sorry again for slaughtering any of these names. Gölbekli Tepe and southern Turkey, a temple-like archaeological complex filled with intricately carved symbols, indicating the markings of a solar calendar that track days, seasons, and years. But by analyzing the symbols carved into pillars, the team believes that every V could represent a single day, given that one pillar features 365 days. Well, there's, I mean, the different languages. Among those, the summer solstice in particular was highlighted with a V worn around the neck of a bird-like beast, meant to represent the summer solstice constellation during that time. The calendar explanation could help explain why the V symbols appears on so many other nearby statues of deities linked to time and creation, with the V almost always showing up around their necks. I guess. The calendar's preoccupation with day, night, and seasonal changes may have sparked a new world-changing comet strike. May have sparked a world-changing comet strike, one that experts believed occurred in roughly 10,850 BC, and helped contribute to a mini ice age that eliminated numerous species. It appears that the inhabitants of Göbekli Tepe were keen observers of the sky. Martin Sweatman, lead study researcher from the University of Edinburgh School of Engineering, said in a statement, which is to be expected given the world has been devastated by a comet strike. The event might have triggered the civilization by initiating a new religion, by motivating developments in agriculture to cope with the cold climate. Possibly their attempts to record what they saw are the first steps towards the development of writing millennia later. The carvings also track cycles for both the moon and sun, which predate other calendars finds of this type by many millennia, the group wrote. By tracking the movements of meteors and the Earth, the ancient research may have also shown for the first time that comet strikes happen more when the Earth's orbit crosses a path of circling comet fragments, something that modern-day researchers have proven. To help support the theory, the team points to another pillar at the site, appearing to picture the Taurid meteor system lasting 27 days, which is quite possibly the source of the ancient comet strike. The researchers believe that the temple carvings show the ancient civilization was recording dates precisely, noting how the movement of constellation across the sky differed based on the time of year. This would be 10,000 years before Hippocrates of ancient Greece documented the wobble of the Earth's axis in 150 BC, making this newfound calendar well ahead of its time. Did I? Probably need to switch this up. Yep. Everything we found shattered our expectation. Archaeologists discover first astronomical observatory from ancient Egypt. Archaeologists have identified the first ancient Egyptian astrological observatory on record, which they say is the first and largest of its kind, according to a translated statement from the country's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. An Egyptian archaeological team discovered the remnants of a 6th century BC structure 3 years ago during excavations at an archaeological site in the ancient city of Vtuber, now called Tel Al Farin, in Egypt's Kaf el Sheikh Governorate. Everything we found shatters our expectations, says Hassam Ghonim, director of the General of Kaf el Sheikh Antiquities and head of the Egyptian archaeological missions, told Live Science. The team uncovered ruins of an L-shaped mud brick building spanning over 9,150 square feet, or 850 square meters. Its east-facing entrance is voice going. So much reading in a short period of time. Marked by a traditional gateway known as a pylon, leads to a spot where the sunlight would have illuminated where the sky observer, known as a Simpi, Senpai. I'm just going to say Senpai. I shouldn't make jokes like that. Well, usually with games like that, I start making different names if I can't say it correctly. Heck, even if I can say the name correctly, I make up different names. Who was usually a priest, stood to track the sun and stars. The structure still has a carving of a priest facing the rising sun. This figure symbolizes the ancient Egyptians' connection to the cosmos. At first, the team thought they had discovered a temple, yet as excavation progressed, they uncovered artifacts and inscribed symbols such as Chin, Chinet, and Benu that relate to time and astronomy. But it was the discovery of a huge sundial, along with several inscriptions, artifacts, and the layout of the building, that led researchers to make the new announcement that the structure was an observatory. Along the hall's northern side, we discovered a slanted stone sundial, a sun shadow clock that used the shifting angles of the sun's shadows to determine sunrise, noon, and sunset. A simple yet profound method. Who noted that initially archaeologists thought the clock was a temple gate. The team also found an ancient Egyptian timekeeping device known as a mirkat, also from the 6th century BC. These findings shed a light on the astronomical techniques used by the ancient Egyptians so that they could determine the solar calendar and the dates of religious and official rituals, such as the coordination of kings, and agricultural year according to statements. Yes, that's exactly how it's said. What are you doing? Oh, you're here because you showed back up Anubis because I am talking about Egyptian stuff, right? Where's Imhotep? Imhotep gone right now? The ancient Egyptians envisioned Inside the hall, archaeologists found an inscribed stone depicting astronomical views of sunrise and sunset across 3 seasons. If you're wondering why a cat, my black cat, is named Anubis, is because he is the lord of dead plants. Because he chewed off the leaves of so many plants and killed them. We were going for an Egyptian theme. The first cat I had was Imhotep. Yeah, strain the power of the sun. My cat, Imhotep, the reason why I named him Imhotep originally was because he kind of had an Ankh kind of look. Because he's a tabby, but the way the part on top of his head kind of looked like an Ankh, so I decided to go with that name with him. And so it kind of started the Egyptian naming currently of this set of animals that we have. And my mom's cat is named Nefer, which means jewel in Egyptian, so And she is marking. We weren't planning this ahead of time, but some of the fur, because she was a kitten at the time we got her, some of the fur actually has the shape of diamond on her chest. She's a calico. The ancient Egyptians envisioned the earth and sky as two mots. They mapped the sky in the Themert, the sky mot, and the Themet Gertz, or earth mat, representing their calendar, marking events like the Nile flood and harvest. This is the first inscribed stone mat of its kind ever discovered. Oh, they're flat earthers. Joke, 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 absolute joke. These findings, as well as other inscriptions, add to evidence that the Egyptians' deep understanding of seasonal changes and variations in day length. The archaeologists also found a triad of pillars at the hall's entrance, an unusual placement because the typical structure of ancient Egyptian monuments features pillars at the end of the hall. This unusual placement of pillars suggests that it is not a temple, as previously thought. We theorize that these pillars might represent the ancient Egyptians' tripartite division of time into seasons, months, and weeks. I believe or is it a donut? Is it an everything donut? Unlike traditional monuments, which typically have a single pylon, the observatory has two pylons facing each other, framing the circular observatory spot and symbolizing the Ankh, or the horizon by which the sun rises. Ankhet. Excuse me. Facing the Ankhet was a limestone watchtower that was likely paired with another and used to observe constellations. The excavation also uncovered a statue of the falcon-head god Horus. The depiction of Horus, along with the Eye of Horus, embodies the system of the universe and is linked to the sun, the moon, and the god Horus, the goddess Wajet, the most important gods of Batu. According to this statement, in ancient times, Batu was dedicated to the goddess Wajet, a serpent goddess known to be protective of the king. The analysis of the observatory provides more evidence that Wajet was of great importance to Batu. Inside the observatory, archaeologists found a gray granite statue of King Psamtik I from the Site area, the 26th dynasty, and a bronze figure of Osiris, a god associated with the underworld and resurrection, with the serpent referring to the goddess Wajet. These artifacts, along with various pottery items used in religious rituals, date the observatory to 6th century BC. Believe the Earth is a big titty anime girl. Sure! That works too! Can I lay my head on the big titties though? Or can I lay on her lap? Showing off its dual role in scientific study and spiritual practice. Alright. A 2,200-year-old battering ram from the epic battle between Rome and Carthage, found in the Mediterranean. Look at that. A Roman battering ram found at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea was used during an epic battle that unfolded more than 2,200 years ago. By the way, if you're wondering how this goes with science, it's social science. Researchers used a deep water submersible to recover the large bronze piece at the depth of 260 feet or 80 meters off the coast of Sicily's Aegean Islands. Science, yeah. Well, science is the study of, so this is social science and all. The ram was once attached to an ancient warship, according to a translated Facebook post, but the Sicily Superintendents of Sea, part of the region's Department of Cultural Heritage, which announced the find. Math is a science. Math is definitely a science. Yep, yep. Once attached, okay. The ram would have been used during the Battle of Agates, an important historical event fought in 241 BC between Rome and Carthage, an ancient city which is now Tanzania. Rams were a way for captains to crash into and ultimately sink enemy vessels. Well, I mean, if you've ever tried to do calculus, you have to fucking study it. Also, to do algebra, you have to understand the basic mechanics of it, and also trigonometry and geometry. Also, like c squared plus b squared equals c squared, and remembering those kind of. The skirmish was the final battle of the First Punic War between the two superpowers, which lasted for 23 years and ultimately led to Carthage surrendering to Rome. Analysis of the ram, which is now on shore on the island of Fagigania, has revealed that the artifact contains an ornamental relief depicting Monte Fortino style Roman helmet with 3 feathers, according to Fenstere sull'arte, an Italian arts journal. Yes, I am quarter Italian. No, I don't know how to speak Italian. I went out of my way to make sure I didn't take calculus. I've looked at it, kind of like I went out of my way not to take chemistry, because I don't understand how to balance equations, and it confused the fuck out of me. When I had certain parts of other science classes would have like a section that would do that for it. This style of pointed helmet was standard issue for Roman troops, according to the Roman Numismatic Gallery. This is the first time that researchers have found relics of war, such as swords and coins, in this part of the Mediterranean. The seabed is always a valuable source of information to add further knowledge about the naval battle between Roman and Carthaginian fleets, says Francesco Paolo Scarabella. I'm sorry again. The city councilor of Palermo. Archaeologist studies have allowed the identification to the theater of the battle that sanctioned the dominance of Romans over the Mediterranean. I was stupid enough to take algebra in the 8th grade, and it was advanced, and so I decided I was going to take it again in the 9th grade. So that, because I didn't feel like I learned it well enough, and it was one of the courses that I failed because of there's a bunch of shit happening. I failed my freshman year of high school, but let me put it this way: I made up some of my courses during the next year, and the principal kind of promised me that if I made up my courses and did well on the grades, that they'd allow me to take, because the way the quarter system worked was you could only do 2 core classes and then 2 extracurricular classes, which was like art, singing, all this other stuff. And if I made good grades on that, then they said that, oh, you can probably, because I wanted to still graduate the same year that I was supposed to. But then the principal said, no, I'm not going to allow it after I did that. So I literally took a quarter off and homeschooled myself and made up an entire year within a quarter with A, B's, and well, mostly A's. So I feel like I learned more on my own than I did in classes for the most part during that time. And I think that came down to my autism, being that school wasn't quite set up well for my autism. I'll just put it that way. I'm not blaming everything in the school system. It's just I had to retake ninth grade, failed math last time. Ugh, that sucks. But yeah, I think the problem really came down to the socializing exhausted me, and the whole, I guess, the whole setup for school isn't good for autism in the sense of also the sounds, the way that the lights flicker in the school, uh, in the buildings, the way that, and all this other stuff. So yeah, my setbacks were definitely home related, so that I kept on having horrible migraines, so I couldn't go to school, and I also had a weak immune system, so I was sick a lot, and teachers wouldn't let me bring home work. And when I would show up to do work at school, like early in the morning to do tests or whatever, they wouldn't show up or stay after school, and then the teacher would say, yeah, I don't feel like it today. So I couldn't do it then. And not like the math teacher did any better for me. Like, I swear that math teacher was out to scar the fuck out of me. Like, standing in front, having me, making fun of me, in front of my grades, in front of this class kind of levels. I'll put it this way. I walked into, because I took the algebra thing in 8th grade, I was allowed to take the exit exam, um, for a year early. And so I was, the thing with exit exams is you miss school for them. So by the time my period ran around for math, when I was taking the math exit exam, I finished the math exit exam and they sent me back to class. Um, and that happened to be during my math period. And I show up with the excuse, the thing that the testers gave me that was an excuse for me being late. And she stood in front of the entire class and says, I don't believe you were taking the exit exam because you're failing my class. That's some of what I had to deal with that math teacher. Um, as for this, my favorite class in also that, I really liked social studies after my 6th grade teacher got me really interested into it. Um, but one of the things about autism is I'm bad at taking notes. It's just I can't really do it very well. And the social studies teacher at the first high school we still had a book, but she wouldn't teach what's in the book exactly because that wouldn't be what's on the test, even though it was kind of the same stuff. There was some details and stuff that she was like, I prefer one of the older books that they had that had more information on this kind of stuff, so I want you to write notes on this. But and so I would have problems in her class writing the notes and getting it done. And then also she would not let me take work home, especially when I was sick, because I was sick a lot. And I had to do it in front of her, all the work, no homework. I had to do all work in front of her, and some days she'd show up and just say, "You know what? I don't want to stay after school to let you do the work in front of me. I have only 1 year before I retire. I don't care." So it definitely felt that. So, but enough bitching about that. Anyways, my voice is going. I can hear my voice going. So let's continue on. See, the thing is, don't let. I've had good teachers. Like I said, my 6th grade history teacher. I used to just be bored with history to some degree, but my 6th grade history teacher got me really into history. You can have some really good teachers that can get you into stuff, and you can have some really bad teachers that, might get you out of enjoying stuff. Um, but just because, don't let how the teacher treats you define how you look at a material and enjoy it or not. I'm just saying that. 1,500-year-old coins from the Byzantine Empire discovered in a medieval dwelling in Bulgaria. Archaeologists in Bulgaria have discovered a medieval house that contains contain even older gold coins, which date back to the reign of the Byzantine Empire, Justinian the Great. My middle school was a science and technology middle school, so I knew a lot about computer science, but I was still required to take it in high school. The reason why you bring that up and I'm kind of talking about it is I had the most hilarious computer teacher in high school. Like, hilarious. And the ad is starting soon, so I'm going to wait till the ad is over before telling you about this wonderful work of a person. But I'll go ahead and keep reading this. Archaeologists in Bulgaria have unearthed 5 gold coins dating back to the time of the Emperor Justinian the Great, ruled from I usually do AD afterwards, so 527 to 565 AD. Although it is not unusual to discover coins during excavations, these ones were located in the floor of a 10th century house, suggesting the dwelling's medieval occupants may have kept the coins as a kind of heirloom or artifact. I think these are the ones. I guess that's considered 1 and 2. The coins were found in August during an archaeological dig in the village of Devino in northern Bulgaria. Excavations in the Devino and the nearby fortress, which was built in the early 5th century, have been ongoing since 2019. And archaeologists have so far found the remnants of a large 4th to 3rd century BC settlement, as well as evidence of habitation from the 4th to 16th centuries AD, when the areas were part of the Byzantine Empire. During the recent expedition, archaeologists excavated a medieval dwelling in Dabino that had been badly damaged by fire. The occupants appear to have abandoned their house following the fire in the 10th century, and the team recovered iron tools, including 2 sickles and 2 axes, a belt buckle, ceramic vessels, and 3 bronze rings, in addition to 5 gold coins that were around 400 years older than the house. Okay, now that the ads are over. Okay. And I repeat, the computer teacher, you know, this is technology, mind you, and it was computer applications class. So it was like teaching us Excel and all this other stuff. I don't think I've ever met a more religious lady. Like, when I wore, like, this dress that my mom made that, had a rainbow, like, spider webs and all this other stuff on the pattern on the dress and stuff. There's, like, cobwebs and little spiders, you know. Got a rant about how Halloween was the devil's day, and anybody who celebrated was worshipping the devil, and that any good person would basically go, like, multiple times to church during the week, like Bible study on Wednesdays, and how her son was a good Christian boy who went 3 times a week to church to do church stuff, and just any level of, I swear, are you joking? On the level of, I was like halfway convinced that at sub level she'd say that if she wasn't being, you know, hired to teach computers, that she would go on about how computers were created by the devil. I swear it was that close to it. She also hated me because I knew everything that was happening. It was pretty much I was taking it because I had to. Well, not really had to. I figured it was an easy A, and it was. But because this was all stuff I learned in my middle school, which was like I said, a technology middle school. But also, I was a part of a competition during middle school for computer application stuff, but also for the next year after that was web page design, which was what got me into animation and really interested in doing that. Because I animated the buttons. And it's probably besides action script, the only other script I understood at the time, have understood to some degree, is HTML coding. That's neither here nor there. So basically, I won second place at state for my computer applications with the Technology Council. So I ran circles around her when it came to computer application stuff. And she did not like that. Oh yeah, I was to say, I can understand. There's a certain amount of fear mongering and all this other stuff that, like, you start being afraid of everything, and you start feeling like everything you're doing is a sin that isn't to the law, kind of thing. And it's a very sad place to be in. I never got too far into it, but I've seen family members kind of do it. And family members who used to not go down that road that suddenly decided to go down that road, and then I don't know what I am, but I'm just not what I was raised to be, kind of thing. That's all I'm saying about my religious things, but I don't like people who fearmonger and try and push their beliefs onto other people. Anyways, the coins minted during the reign of Justinian the Great, whose rule saw the Byzantine Empire reach its greatest geographical extent in the mid-16th century, after the Western Roman Empire had fallen. Justinian's legacy includes the publication of a body of Roman laws, as well as the development of a new art and architectural styles, which would become known as Byzantine. Yeah, I remember learning about I went to college for animation with a minor in game design. Originally, it was special effects. The minor was in special effects, but I switched over to game design, well, interactive / game design. But I had to take a year and a half of art history. And it's not to say that I remember a lot, because there's a big chunks of memory that are gone from my brain injury, but hey. One of Justinian's goals was to restore the empire of the Romans, which he accomplished by reestablishing control over Western Europe and Northern African provinces. All 5 coins are the same type, tresmeses, a small coin worth 1,000 of a solids that depicts the emperor wearing a pearl diadem on the front, while the back depicts the personification of victory, holding a wreath in their right hand and a cross and a globe in her left. The inscription on the front reads, "Our Lord Justinian Perpetual Augustus," referring to the first Roman emperor whose name was later used to refer to all emperors, while the back reads, "Victory of the Augusts." 2 of the coins, likely burned in the fire that destroyed the house, are stuck together. The dwelling was built on the remains of an early Byzantine building expedition leader, Stilion Ivanov said, an archaeologist at the National Archaeological Institute with the museum at Bulgarian Academy of Sciences, told Life Science in an email. Therefore, we assume that the coins were found during the construction of the early medieval dwelling. Our work hypothesis is that the owners kept the coins because of the gold value. Although it was never a large settlement, Devanov has a deep history as the archaeological team has found evidence of structures, burials, and artifacts dating as early as 5000 BC and as late as the 18th century. All right, 2 more articles. Scientists discover spatial grammar in DNA, breakthroughs that could rewrite genetic textbooks. Researchers discovered spatial grammar in DNA that redefines the role of transcription factors in gene regulation, influencing our understanding of genetic variations in disease. A recently uncovered code within DNA refers to spatial grammar, may unlock the secret to how gene activity is encoded in the human genome. This breakthrough finding, identified by the researchers at the Washington State University and the University of California, San Diego, published in Nature, revealing a long postulated hidden spatial grammar embedded in DNA. The research could reshape scientists' understanding of gene regulation and how genetic variations may influence gene expression in development or disease. The discovery of positual why are my words not working today? Yes, English is my first language. Still fail at it. You know, I know what the word means, and the problem is I'm not remembering how to say it. Positional. There! Ha! Dependence. Transcription factors, the proteins that control which genes are in one's genome are turned on or off, plays a crucial role in this code. Long thought of as either activators or repressors of gene activity, the research shows the function of transcription factors is far more complex. Contrary to what you will find in textbooks, conscription factors that act as true activators or repressors are surprisingly rare. WSU Assistant Professor Duke, who led most of the research at WSU's School of Molecular Bioscience at the College of Veterinary Medicine. Rather, scientists found that most activators can also function as repressors. If you remove an activator, your hypothesis is that you lose activation. Bailey McDonald, a WSU graduate who was also part of the research team, but that was only true in 50 to 60% of the cases, so he knew something was off. Looking closer, researchers found the function of many transcription factors was highly position dependent. They discovered that the spacing between transcription factors and their position relative to where the gene's transcription began determined the level of gene activity. For example, transcription factors may activate gene expression when positioned upstream or ahead of where a gene's transcription begins, but inhibited its activity when located downstream or after a gene's transcription start site. It is the space or ambience that determines if a given transcription factor acts as an activator or repressor, Duke said. It goes to show that similar to learning a new language, to learn how gene expression patterns are encoded in our genome, we need to understand both its words and the grammar. I was making a joke about speaking English, but the language and all this other stuff, but guess we're gonna keep making that joke. Implications for genetic research. By integrating this newly discovered spatial grammar, Christopher Benner, associate professor at the UC San Diego, anticipates scientists can gain a deeper understanding of how mutations or genetic variations can affect gene expression and contribute to disease. The potential applications are vast. At the very least, it will change the way that scientists study gene expression. Alright, final one of the night! Just keep beating the horse. I don't know, my voice is going. The Y chromosome is slowly vanishing. A new sex gene may be the future of men. The sex of human and other mammal babies is decided by a male-determining gene on the Y chromosome. But the human Y chromosome is degrading, and may disappear in a few million years, leading to our extinction unless we evolve a new sex gene. Good news is that 2 branches of rodents have already lost their Y chromosomes and have lived to tell the tale. Woo! In a 2022 paper in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, shows how the spiny rat has evolved a new male-determining gene. Well, one of the other things I think that people don't also realize is, you know, the genes for creating, the DNA for creating sperm is also found on the X chromosome as well. So it's not just a Y chromosome thing they found. In humans, as in other mammals, females have 2 Y chromosomes, and males have a single X and a punitive little chromosome called Y. The names have nothing to do with their shape. X is stood for unknown because, you know, women, males were, believe it or not, in like way in the past, and when looking at medical stuff, the male body was considered the standard, and the women's body was considered a variation. I kid you not. At least in Western medicine. So, yeah. The X contains about 900. It was only in Western medicine, really. There's some debates on whether it had to come down to the Western belief that women came from Adam's ribs, that kind of, you know, kind of playing on that rule. But yeah, women were treated as a variant of a male. In medical circles. And it was especially like if I remember correctly, there was was it Greek guy that says that the reason why oh, I am forgetting what what makes a female or a male comes down to temperature. Yep. Yeah, suggested criteria. In particular, the female body was seen as wetter and cooler than the male body, and moreover marked by anatomical peculiarity. The uterus was thought of as a living being. The difference between male and female bodies, whether described as radical difference in nature or relative greater or lesser degree of perfection, It's always presented in those texts by referring to the male body, compared with which the female body is thought of in terms of incompleteness or inversion. Yeah, they also believe that. The differentiation begins at embryogenesis and continues during the uh, fetal development. I know, right? But yeah, so X is the unknown, but you know, um, the X contains about 900 genes. Well, I'm not saying that that's the reason why X stood for unknown. I'm just saying, at least in the past, that's how they viewed women as it was. X contains about 900 genes that do all sorts of jobs unrelated to sex, but the Y contains a few genes, about 55, and a lot of non coding DNA. Simple repetitive DNA that doesn't seem to do anything. More like X Files, yeah. But the Y chromosome packs a punch because it contains an all important gene that kickstarts male development in the embryo. About 12 weeks after conception, this master gene switches on others that regulate the development of a testes. The embryonic testes make male hormones, testosterone and its derivatives, because, believe it or not, male hormones is not just testosterone, which ensures the baby's development as a boy. Everybody seems to forget that it's not just testosterone. This master gene was identified as the. Sorry, I'm joking. I know it's not that, but just SRY region of the sex region on the Y in the 1990s, and works by triggering a genetic pathway starting with a gene called SOX9, which is key for male determination in all vertebrates, although it does not lie on sex chromosomes. The disappearing Y. Most mammals have an X and Y chromosome similar to ours. An X with lots of genes and a Y with a sorry I can't help it. SRY plus a few others. The system comes with problems because of the unequal dosage of X genes in males and females. How did such a weird system evolve? The surprise finding is that the Australia's platypus has completely different sex chromosomes, more like that of birds. In the platypus, the XY pair is just an ordinary chromosome with two equal members. This suggests that the mammal XY were an ordinary pair of chromosomes not that long ago. Your birds aren't real. In turn, this must mean that the Y chromosomes has lost 900 to 55 active genes over the 166 million years that humans and platypus have been evolving separately. That's a loss of about 5 genes per million years. At this rate, the last 55 genes will be gone in 11 million years. Yeah, some animals have 3 to 4 sex chromosomes, and we're not even going to talk about funguses. There are like so many of those. Our claim of the imminent demise of the human Y creates a furrow, and to this day there are claims and counterclaims about the expected lifetime of our Y chromosomes. Estimates between infinity and a few thousand years. Rodents with no Y chromosomes. The good news is that we know of 2 rodent lineages who've already lost their Y chromosomes and are still surviving. The mole voles of Eastern Europe and the spiny rats of Japan each boast some species in which the Y chromosome and the SRY have completely disappeared. The X chromosome remains in a single or double dose in both sexes. Although it's not yet clear how the mole voles determine sex without the SRY gene, a team led by Hokkaido University biologist at Satu Kuroai has more luck with the spiny rat, a group of 3 species in different Japanese islands, all endangered. Go figure. Korawa's team discovered most of the genes in the Y of the spiny rats have been relocated to other chromosomes. But she's found no sign of the SRY, nor the gene that substitutes it. In 2022, they published a successful identification in the PNAS. The team found the sequences that were in the genomes of the males, but not females, then refined these and tested for a sequence on every individual rat. What they discovered was a tiny difference near the key sex gene SOX9 on the chromosome 3 of the spiny rat. A small duplication, only 17,000 base pairs out of more than 3 billion, were present in all males and no females. They suggested this small bit of duplicated DNA contains the switch that normally turns on SOX9 in response to the SRY. When they introduced this duplication to the mice, they found that it boosts SOX9 activity, so the change could allow the SOX9 to work without SRY. Well, I mean, humans also, some humans have 3 to 4 chromosomes too, so it's not. Some of them are muted though. But it's. Oh yeah, a whole bunch of them. Like, some of them are sterile, but the thing is, they don't realize that they are that way until they are trying to, have children, and they're going through testing, which is kind of sad to be told you can't have children. The eminent, evolutionary speaking, disappearance of the human Y chromosome has elicited speculation about our future. Some lizards and snakes are female-only species and can make eggs out of their own genes via what's known as parthenogenesis. But this can't happen in humans or other mammals because we have at least 30 crucial imprinted genes that only work if they come from the father via sperm. To reproduce, we need sperm, and we need men, meaning at the end of the Y chromosome could herald the extinction of the human race. Only breed, yeah. The new findings supports an alternative possibilities that humans can evolve a new sex-determining gene. Phew! However, evolution of a new sex-determining gene comes with risks. What if more than one system evolves in different parts of the world? A war of the sex genes could lead to the separation of a new species, which is exactly what happened with the mole voles and the spiny rats. So if someone visits the Earth in 11 million years, they might find no humans, or several species of humans, kept apart by their different sex-determining systems. Wow, this is a 4-hour stream. No wonder my voice is going. Ah! I mean, maybe it's a possibility. I don't know. I guess. So I'm quite sure they'd still have sex. I don't think they'd reproduce. It's like, being of a different species hasn't stopped some people from, going at it. Alright, I'm gonna go annoy Pando again. Just because I can. Alright, y'all! This is Ishnai Ciarfox. New species sponsored by... Absolutely. Alright, y'all, this was Ishnai Ciarfox. I hope you have a good day or night, whenever it is, wherever it is you currently are. Tomorrow we'll probably be back with Final Fantasy 14. I do want to do some more indie games again, so I might have an indie game on Saturday. But yeah, like and subscribe, y'all. Thank you so much, I Love Beds, for joining. Thank you for the rest of y'all, Lone Wolf, Apocalypse, who else? Key, everybody else who joined. But I appreciate, especially since this is a slower stream, and I guess some people might not find it as interesting, but yep, let's go. Remember, this is every first Thursday of the month. The science streams are.